In this video, we discuss how self-harm and addiction have similar habit-forming mechanisms, how trauma and emotional pain forms who they were then, and how healing led to who they are now.
Most people with Corona and stuff had a lot of more trouble. But I actually, when Corona hit, I was actually in rehab. So I actually got out, and after that, I've been able to work so much on myself and everything. So for me, the Corona time has been the best time because it might not be the situation, but I really learned something that in the clinic, we always say, higher power, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. But I found in a song, it put a different way. You cannot change what happens to you, but you can change the attitude to anything that happens to you.
Perspective.
And seeing that just made me realize, okay, with Corona, I cannot go outside and stuff, but there's still many other things I can do. I've been focusing so much more on project, on work, which normally I would not do because I'm doing other stuff. So right now I'm doing really good, actually.
Good. That's the serenity prayer from Alcoholics Anonymous, isn't it?
Yeah. When I came in, I saw myself as problem behavior, but then I realized that self-harm is also actually an addiction. But I wasn't addicted to anything else. I was just addicted to self-harm, and then problem behavior was more. I actually joined it because my mom told me, hey, you go to here. And she got it because of I forgot what it's called. My mother's brother told her like, oh, you should probably do this. And I just joined, and I was in a time in my life where I was like completely blank. I was just living because I wouldn't want to hurt my stepmom and stepsister. And I joined the clinic because I was like, I don't give a shit. I'll just say yes, then I don't have to deal with it anymore. Best fucking choice I ever made in my life.
Really?
At the time when I was there was many times where I was like, fucking hell, why the fuck am I here? You know, fucking in the beginning, I was like, I'm not like these other people. They're all fucking addicts. They're all fucking crazy cunt. And then realized I'm exactly the same as them. I might have a different story, but it's the same story with just worded a little bit different. They're all exactly the same thing, but just a different scenario. That I learned so much there. And why I'm so happy with it is because, first of all, I got to meet so many people. Feeling alone in your problem is also something that a lot of people have. And then seeing that so many other people struggle with so many other things, so many similar things and stuff like that also helps quite a lot. Also, just so many of the things that I've heard there, I still tell myself every single day. For example, one of the things my psychologist actually told me in Yes We Can was, at the end of the day, if you relapse, it's not because of the things that happen, it's because you made that decision. Okay, the other things have made it harder and stuff. At the end of the day, you're the one who decides to do that again and go back to your old behavior and go back to your shitty life.
Can I ask you, and it's going to be a challenging question. If you don't want to talk about it, that's completely okay. But what sort of self-harming behavior did you participate in?
For me, it was because actually before, when we used to talk about it and stuff, I would get triggers. Right now, I don't get triggers at all. Last time I've had one, it was probably around 10 months ago. And I'm basically 11 months out of the clinic. But I've not even had thoughts about it, or when I have had thoughts about it, that's a lie, but not actual like, oh, I want to. It was more like, oh, it would be nice to do that. And then I realized, oh, that's just a thought. That's bullshit. I don't want to do that. But I used to just do it on my leg, and it actually became really bad to where I did it 60 times on each leg every day before going to sleep.
For a lot of people, it's the experience of the pain alleviates them from the emotional pain that they're going through. And the fact that you did it on the leg, to me, suggests that you're trying to hide it and didn't really want other people to see it. What do you think is the source of that emotional pain? If that was the reason?
So for me, I'll explain exactly why, because now when I did it, I did not realize at all why I did it. It was just like, I just did it because it felt right. But now looking back at the times, it was because I think around 4 years old, I would say I would start hiding my emotions from myself and others. So I would start, for example, I would go back from kindergarten to my father, and I would feel really shit because my mother has been since a really young age pretty fucked up. So I would always go outside, cry in the bushes, come back and pretend everything was fine. And that's actually where my problems mainly started. And I just kept hiding it. And there's many things that happened in my life and stuff. My mother became she was not that much physically abusive. And honestly, I wish I got just fucking beaten more and less mental abusive stuff, because there's still a lot of things that I realize on once in a while, like, oh shit, that's not normal to do something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most normal things, or if I see someone do something and then they're like, oh, that's very normal to do, I'm like, what do you mean? I never heard of that. Even after being out of the situation, I still have quite a lot of anger, to be honest, with my mother. But I don't really struggle with like PTSD or stuff like that. But it's mainly seeing things as very normal and stuff. My sister had it way worse, because for me, I'm always been a person who would, like, when my mother said, oh, fucking clean this with a toothbrush, all that stuff, I would be just like, okay, no problem. Like, I didn't really care. But my sister stood up for herself. And that's where it started getting worse and worse. And then she also started getting more angry at me. One time she got pulled out of the shower because she was not allowed to shower because my mother wanted to have power. That's a big thing with my mother. She likes to play a lot with power. So when she told my sister, you cannot go in the shower, I'm not going to turn the heat on, and she goes to the shower anyway, that's when she freaks out, because she's like, oh shit, I don't have the power that I want. So she pulled my sister with the hair out of the shower with the elbow on the back of the head, and then would go in front of the window, and we live in a dead-end street, and she would scream out of the window, everybody watch, my sister is naked, everybody watch, my sister's name is naked.
That's horrible.
Yeah. My sister got so much fights and got it so much worse because she stood up for herself. I was just following and stuff. I was really lucky still because I had my father, who I really loved. I didn't see him just as my father. He was basically my best friend and everything. And I had really good relation every time. That was like the biggest reason why I still wanted to live. I really enjoyed my time there. All these things. He was also a really smart guy. He was not judgmental at all, because that's something that I don't like about a lot of people, that they just judge.
I get the impression that you're talking
really
about your mum and your mother's behaviors that he was ignoring.
A little bit that too. It's like not mainly that, but I just talk about people in general. They judge like in ignorance, basically. They just see someone act one way and they just think, oh, that's one of these type of people. Nowadays, I'm purposely try not to look too good, because I really realize when I look really good and stuff, people act so kind to me, but I don't like when people act kind to me because I look good. I want people to talk to me because they are interested in me, or they see me and they're like, hey, how are you doing? They realize that I'm a nice person. I don't want them to find out I'm a nice person just because I look a certain way. What then basically happened, I kept suppressing everything where I could just not feel my own emotions. I would hide everything during the day, and then before going to sleep, everything would come. Everything. So for me, I actually just tried it once and I was like, holy shit, all the thoughts just disappeared. I can go to sleep now. And then it became harder and harder to get rid of them. So I just kept doing more and more. So all my thoughts were basically out, and I could finally go to sleep. After my sister got taken away by police, I used to go to an international school in Belgium, which costed like around 30 grand a year. I got expelled from my first school because I was smart and I thought I knew a person who wanted to buy weed. I knew a person who sold weed. I put them together and I just took the money, gave it to the person, took the weed, didn't make any profit. I was just like a dumb kid. I was 13 years old or something. Got expelled from that school and started going to boarding schools. I didn't see my father that much then, and my mother I also didn't see too much, but I didn't really mind because for me it was just, oh, I don't have to see my mother too much. My father I did find kind of sad, but back then I didn't really care way too much. 2 years and 5 months ago from today, my father passed away, and that's when my life completely came crashing down. And I remember after hearing the news, literally I just got this wall around me, and I just heard this voice talk to me and just say, you cannot kill yourself because it will hurt your stepmother and your sisters so much. You cannot kill yourself, it will hurt your stepmother and sister so much. Just my sister and my stepmother was the only two people who I then still had, and I was like, okay, I really cannot do that, but I was just living day by day. Right after my dad died, my mother instantly told me, well, now you don't have a reason to go to your stepsister and stepmother because they don't have the rights to force to, because with my dad, they were forced to let me go there. So they were like, okay, well, now you don't have that anymore. Too bad for you. If anything would happen to them or some shit, like anything, like the smallest thing, I would just instantly, okay, fucking, I'm done. I was basically living that way a little bit less than 2 years. And then after I went to the clinic, and there I was really lucky. And after I came out of the clinic, I actually had to go back with my mother. After that, I went to the clinic, and when I got out of the clinic, I was with my mother, but then she kept really playing with me and just the whole time toying with me. In the clinic, I relapsed twice. I cut myself in the clinic two times. Imagine if you relapse out of the clinic as well. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you might fuck up that today, but if you keep following the steps, it doesn't matter if you relapse or not. But it's the same thing when you, for example, smoke. If you stop smoking for a little while, it might not be that hard. When you smoke again, after, the next day you really want to smoke. But if you just don't keep not smoking it, it becomes easier and easier. And you might have some days that you're like, fuck man, I want a cigarette. Or for me it was, fuck man, I want to self-harm. You just go get past the day, you focus on your recovery and all that type of stuff, and it will be fine. When I got out of the clinic, I was with my mother. She kept toying with me, trying to keep getting that control and stuff. She said this one thing to me that really fucking pissed me off. She said, you're gonna end up like being like your dad, a fucking loser, and then something in the words like, I'm happy he's dead or something. So I got really angry, and I went to my room, kicked the door down, and like, this is like a really weird memory. It's like kind of faded memory. She lives in a house that's worth 10 million. So it's not like weak doors. I kicked the door down in one kick with the whole frame and everything. She even dared to come upstairs. She came there and she's like, what is this all about? No. And I just told her straight to her face, you're fucking lucky I was able to go upstairs and do that to the door, because look at the fucking door. If that was not the door, that would be in your fucking face and you would be fucking dead. Now get the fuck out of my room. And it's the first time and I'm actually really happy I did say that. It's the first time I actually talked back to my mother. I said it straight like that to her. And now it's the first time she actually listened to me and went the fuck out of my room.
What's your relationship like with your mother now?
No contact at all. And I do not want any contact at all. I was really happy on my birthday. She did not contact me with anything. And she just left me alone. And I was so fucking happy. She does still try to annoy me with many other things. Because, for example, my grandmother died and she wants to play power over the money. So when I have to, if I want to buy something to invest, and then she would be like, oh, well, you know, I have this that I still want from you. No. And would try to know me like that. So that's still a whole thing going on. So for the rest, I don't have contact with her at all.
What do you think has brought about your mother's behavior, being incredibly rude and manipulative and disregarding your feelings and you as a person? Like, how do you think those behaviors came about?
I think because I know her mother herself was also really manipulative and all that kind of stuff. She actually was in a mental psych ward, got dropped out because they said there's no help for her. She also started drinking a lot more, and she drank quite a lot. So that making herself a fake reality and everything like that with drinking and stuff doesn't really help. So it's just gotten worse and worse. And the biggest problem with my mother is she doesn't want help.
Correct. You just to tie that up, you know, psych wards wouldn't drop someone because there's no help for them. It's that the psych ward isn't an appropriate place for that diagnosis. My guess would be that she probably was in the psych ward for a period of like assessment, so that someone could determine whether she has a true psychiatric diagnosis, and so she was released that she probably doesn't have that diagnosis, but more of a personality disorder.
In Belgium, you have these things where people that might be a threat to other people and stuff, or a threat to themselves, they get put in, but it's more
section.
like they see like, oh, not really too much of a hassle, or if they're too long in there, they really don't give a shit about that, so we'll just drop them out. Belgium, like, government here really is probably really most racist ever. They literally say the N-word on thing. They ban black people from going to the beach and stuff.
What diagnosis did she have?
mother's mother, my grandmother from my mother's side. I don't know anything about her. With my mother, they did do an investigation. I personally don't think it's correct, but what they said is there's nothing wrong with her. She's just mean.
Right. Okay. So you think that her behaviors came about from her mother's mother treating her in a similar fashion?
In the beginning of the relation with my father, she always told my father, if I ever turn out like my mother, tell me, because I don't want to turn out like that. And then later, my father told her, and then instantly it was like no, and it was huge like thing like no, it's not like that. One of her friends mentioned something about her alcohol use. She was like, you just don't know how to have a little bit of fun while she's literally drinking alcohol in the basement crying. So I don't think that's seen as fun, but she's really just denying, just quickly pushing to the side like no, it's not like that, just defensive.
Is there anything that you wish you could change about her?
To be honest, at this moment, because even if she would completely change, I would still, after the things she's done, I could, like, because the big thing is she's also big part of the reason why my father died, because she gave her so much stress, money trouble and stuff, and he literally didn't want to go to the doctor because he didn't want to use my stepmother's money and stuff, because she already does so much for us and everything. So honestly, if I could change anything about her, was just never even do anything to do with me, because I just don't want to look at the person who basically killed someone by fucking love.
That's awful. Has your relationship with your mother impacted any other relationships that you have?
Not really. No. Yeah, actually, yes. More directly, not indirectly. I never wanted to invite friends to my home because she would always be really nice and stuff when people are there. And as soon as she left, she would go lash at me about all the things I did wrong and stuff. And no. So I would not want that. Back then, I was very, very closed. I would not want to talk about anything like that. And if they would get suspicions, I would not like that, because that means I might have to talk about that. So in that way, yes, it actually has quite a lot. Birthday parties and stuff, I stopped celebrating them from the age of 10. The closest thing to a birthday party I've had since then was actually this year, when in VR chat I went with some friends, got them to install the game, and we just celebrated in VR.
So traditionally, a mother is a female role model to a person growing up, and I get the impression that there was an absence of that. Have you noticed that your sort of relationship with other female role models have been affected by that?
Not that I really realized, but I think it is very possible. Now, as friends, for me, it's really easy, like friends, boys or girls, for me, exactly the same. As partners and stuff, I actually never had a girlfriend. I don't really know how to explain, because I'm not sure of it myself, how come and everything like that. But like, even if I had people interested in me and stuff, I didn't really, like, I kind of pushed away. But for example, I did have on the first person a crush, and I did ask the person out 3 times for 3 years straight, just to make sure, like, hey, you still not interested? Okay, no, don't worry, we'll just be friends till then. And for me, how I view like falling in love and stuff is, when I'm in love with someone, I would like to be with that person, but as long as I'm in contact and I know that person is happy and that person is okay, that already makes me pretty happy. I was around 13, 14 or something when I had my first crush. I made a joke that was a little bit more like boy humor kind of stuff. This girl actually reacted like in a normal way, and I was like, huh, what the fuck, girls can be like that too?
Your realization that person, and I'm assuming that you're heterosexual, and that you're a guy attracted to a female, the realization that someone of the opposite gender had actually the same sort of humor and experience came about later because of your experience with your mother.
It's hard to explain, but I think it might make sense. A lot of people get confused by it. But I am emotionally bi, sexually I'm straight as fuck. Like, I think guys, I could get feelings for guys, but I could I think guys look gross as fuck. Like,
you're not sexually attracted. Yeah,
exactly.
No, there's 2 things there. There's firstly just the statement that it's nice, that realization that actually you can form your own relationships, experiences, and yourself. You can develop yourself, and that, you know, that the experiences that you had as a child, they're in the past, And although you are formed from those experiences, you can still reform yourself. And that's what you're talking about when you're in rehab. And then secondly is that I imagine because you had that terrible experience with your mother on one hand and the loss of your father, it will invariably have affected your emotional development. So consequently, when you feel, emotionally bi, if you will, that could just be the same experience that I feel when I'm with my, with close friends, but it might feel more intense because you've had an absence of it in your past. It's just a thought. It's, I'm not telling you.
One thing with me is that's something it's one of the hardest things for me that I still struggle with. Because even talking about these things and stuff, I talk with no emotion. For me, it's like reading a book, reading a story. But I used to not feel anything at all. Now I feel it, but I cannot express it and I cannot experience it. If you look at my hands, I am like a little bit shaky because when there's a lot of emotions, I start shaking instead of actually experiencing it. And that's something that a lot of people also misjudge with me. I can actually, funny story, when other people talk about their experiences, I can feel that emotion way more and I can experience it. When I talk about my own stuff or something that I'm in, people always misjudge it, and because I just have a straight face, I talk like normal as if it's anything else.
Firstly, we can stop if you're feeling overwhelmed. Like, we can stop the interview.
Oh, no.
And you can stop at any
I'm
point.
not feeling overwhelmed at all. If I do, I would tell you.
It's called lexithymia. It's this ability to be able to express how you feel. Because your whole experience has been your life story, like what you've told me, you don't have anything to compare it with. Probably was a realization to you when the fact that this is terrible. Those experiences are, shouldn't happen to children. The reason why you don't feel anything is, it's just detachment, it's self-protection. Further away from that and more able to distance yourself from it, you're able to let yourself experience those emotions and work through them. And that takes time. That takes a lot of time and effort. And it takes active work. It takes trying to understand it so that you don't feel the wrong way about a certain situation because of something that's happened in the past. To wrap up, is there any advice that you wish that you could have given yourself when you were in the midst of all of that struggle?
To be honest, I think not really, because I have a feeling, because the timing of everything was pretty good, and I think if I would have done stuff that I've done now and was able to do, I would have only made my situation worse. So
is there any?
I think the way how it's turned out now is pretty good.